Hey guys, this is a TechZim news update, and today we're talking about the new ministry. The stuff that's trending on Twitter is Chinamasa and hashtag CyberZW. And you know why? The government just introduced a ministry of cybersecurity, threat detection and mitigation. And people are associating this with social media clampdown or some kind of ministry to control what people say online. Now let's look at whether this makes sense or not. What would such a team focused on cybersecurity do? Their role would really be to check the threats against the country. What are hackers trying to do against the country? What kinds of cyber weapons are being deployed? So-called in-tech worms, viruses, or some malicious software trying to get into the country. Ideally, this team would have cybersecurity experts. These guys would be sort of the good hackers. They would detect these threats and they would hopefully neutralize them. Now, in the case of Zim, what would be the threats? Or maybe if we back down a bit, under normal circumstances, what would be the threats? The first big threat is the threat of a country's strategic facilities being attacked. This is like your ZESA. If someone hits your ZESA, ideally they could turn off the power for the whole country. In other countries, this is a big problem because they are powered by nuclear power plants. So if someone took control of the nuclear power plant, they could cause all kinds of mayhem, hurt people, because it's both a weapon and it's also a power source. In Zim, obviously, ZESA already switches power itself, randomly. So again, is that a threat? The second big threat that a country would face is that of cyber espionage. This is essentially people trying to steal the secrets of a country, their military plans, their economic plans. The third one, which Zim would relate to, is that of financial services sector. Imagine EcoCash being hit and being down for 5 days. Or imagine all the banks in Zim being down for 5 days. You can't transact, you can't send money, you can't pay for stuff. So that would be a big problem. Now, in the case of Zim, is Mr. Chinamasa's role going to be doing those critical things, or is it going to be social media related? We can take a cue from what ministers have been saying about one key thing that has happened this year. That was the cybercrime and cybersecurity bill. This bill was prepared by the ICT ministry. If you remember, Retech Zim and all other publications in Zim. So this bill, when ministers were talking about it, it was about social media. What are people saying online? It was about fake news. How can we ensure that fake news doesn't spread? So that already gives you an idea of how Zim is thinking of cybersecurity in the sense of social media and fake news. Now, you will also realize that where in other countries such a bill or cybersecurity would fall under the Ministry of Defense or the Ministry of Home Affairs, because those guys already deal with security. In Zim, this bill was falling under the Ministry of ICT, so already a problem there. We assume that the reason was that the defense and home affairs guys are not up to the task. So the question then is Mr. Chinamasa up to the task? Does he just not use a Gmail address like every other minister in Zim? Does he use technology? Does he understand what's at stake? So really the motivation you would therefore conclude is that this is driven, one, by the cash crisis that is there right now. There is need, or at least from the government's perspective, to control what people are saying online, or at least to stop them from saying other things, whatever is considered fake news. Then the other thing is the elections that are coming next year. So those two things seem to be like big motivators in terms of having a cybersecurity ministry. But like we said in the beginning, the idea itself of a team or agency or government department or a ministry focused on cybersecurity is not at all a bad idea. Tell us what you think. These were just our thoughts. Tell us what you think in the comments. Guys, if you enjoyed this content, if you found it helpful and you haven't subscribed already, just hit the subscribe button so that you start getting notifications whenever we post new content. That's all for today. Goodbye.